From MJ and Chuck's insane on-court feuds to fans blaming Chuck for ending their 30-year-long friendship, this is the real reason why Michael Jordan had beef with Charles Barkley.
That is a foul. I know he's Michael Jordan.
And that earns him the technical. Hey, that's a foul. I don't care if he is Michael Jordan now.
Starting off with their bitter rivalry on the court, it's no secret that MJ was the most famous basketballer in the 90s, and Chuck, well, he was a long way behind him. But despite the insane difference in skills between the two, they were always rivals on the court, maybe because they went up against each other so many times. I mean, in 1990 alone, Jordan's Bulls defeated Chuck's Sixers 4 times, with MJ being way ahead of him in points, steals, and assists in every game. So it was obvious that MJ had the lead on Chuck, whether it was regular season games, the playoffs, or even individual performances. But all that fame made MJ hungry for the spotlight. Because even though he'd already been crowned the MVP 3 times, he just couldn't see Chuck becoming the MVP over him. Yep, it's true. No one would have thought that any other player would be crowned MVP as long as Air Jordan was still in the game. But in the 1993 NBA Finals between the Suns and the Bulls, Chuck was chosen as the MVP even though his team lost the final. And that did not sit well with MJ. While there was no visible beef between them at that time, it wouldn't stay like that for long, because things got pretty heated in the Rockets versus Bulls game in '98, when MJ kept shoving Barkley. Believe me, guys, that was a regular season game, but it looked like these two were fighting for their lives. And Air Jordan was scoring like crazy, but for some reason, he kept intimidating Chuck after every single point. At one point, MJ scored a 2-pointer, and for no reason at all, he pushed Chuck instead of his usual celebration. And that wasn't the only time, because the game was filled with moments like these. A few minutes later, they were seen locking heads and mumbling something angrily, after which Charles kept minding his own business, and MJ came blasting out of nowhere, elbowing him and shoving him to the point that Chuck got really pissed and straight up went to the refs.
Charles Barkley.
He insisted that MJ was committing fouls but was being let go only because he's Michael Jordan. And Chuck made it clear that he could care less who MJ was.
Just as you were with Magic Johnson. How does that change the dynamic, if at all?
If the man was playing dirty, he had to be punished. In the end, though, Jordan, as expected, the Bulls won again, with MJ scoring a whopping 45 points. But it was a close win, only by a lead of 6 points, which might make you think that if MJ hadn't played with Chuck that way and distracted him, the Rockets could have had a chance at winning. And before you start bashing me for this assumption, I'll let you know that MJ has actually been accused of playing mind games before. Now, the 1993 season was the only time that Chuck had come close to Jordan's level of play. And since it was just the two of them going head-to-head for the MVP title, you'd probably not expect them to be best buds. That's exactly why it was confusing for everyone when they were going out for dinner in between games. And the Rockets coach, Jeff Van Gundy, believed that it was all part of MJ's mind games. In an interview, the coach said that MJ's whole strategy is to befriend his opponents, make them feel like he cares about them. And just when they've softened up, he goes on the court and physically destroys them. But Jeff couldn't have been more wrong. Because while they did seem like bitter rivals at first glance, Chuck and MJ were best friends at one time. I know it's hard to believe, especially when you look at their 1998 game, but that was all just on-court antics, and thankfully, they didn't let the professional rivalry get in the way of personal friendship. Jordan and Barkley's friendship formed immediately, because not only were they classmates of the '84 NBA draft, but they were also just 2 picks apart, and they soon became best buds over their shared love for golf and gambling. Now, while they did have tense games in the '91 and '92 seasons, their friendship only got stronger in the 1992 Olympics when they played on the same team and brought gold for the US. Not only did they see what it was like to be on one side for a change, but they also bonded off the court. Now, Chuck was famous for his insane scoring skills and was even nicknamed the round mound of rebound. So he was a dominant inside presence, while MJ, on the other hand, had unmatched shooting and defensive skills, making the two of them an unstoppable duo. But it wasn't just the on-court chemistry that made them good friends, because find any footage of MJ outside the court, you're bound to find Chuck with him. That's how close they got, and they were always seen hanging out, exploring Barcelona and going out for meals. And while Spain was all rainbows and sunshine for the pair, their next year was again a tense season because of Chuck becoming MVP. But they even made it through that, because not long after the finals, they were featured in a commercial and a movie together. I know it's getting confusing, guys, because their relationship is one hell of a roller coaster. But like always, they left their rivalry on court and showed the world how good friends they were when they appeared in a Nike commercial that very summer. Not just that, but they eventually starred in the movie Space Jam 2. And MJ was not shy of the bond he shared with Chuck, as he admitted to the media multiple times that Chuck was just like a brother to him. I mean, even after they both retired, they were featured on the Oprah Winfrey Show in 2005, where MJ had nothing but praise for Chuck's honesty, saying that one of the reasons they're best friends is that Chuck would never lie to him about anything. Ironically, it was that same honesty that soured their 30-year-long friendship when Chuck openly criticized MJ's management of his team. Think about it. If they were such good friends, why do we never see them together anymore? Well, it's all cause of something Chuck said at a live radio show in 2012. Barkley criticized Jordan's performance as the general manager of his own team, the Charlotte Hornets, saying that the only reason the team was struggling to even make the playoffs was because of MJ hiring his own friends. According to Chuck, MJ had surrounded himself with people who'd never disagree no matter how bad a decision he makes, because they want him to pay their bills and fly with him in his private jet. And honestly, Chuck was right, because the Hornets are the oldest team in all of America that have never won a single championship. Chuck even brutally said that MJ has not done a great job, plain and simple. Well, he would definitely go on to regret his words, because right that night Chuck got a call from MJ, and he claims that Jordan was actually hurt because he expected him to always be at his side, saying that Chuck's his boy and he wasn't supposed to criticize him like that. Ever since then, the best buds have not talked to each other for 10 years. And while Chuck's criticism does make sense, the fans are not ready to let MJ take all the blame for this beef. A lot of fans have reacted to their strained friendship, and it looks like everyone blames Chuck. Although some fans have argued that if MJ valued Chuck's honesty so much, then he should have appreciated his criticism as well. And they're not alone here, because even when Chuck himself was asked if he would ever be friends with MJ again, he simply said that it'd be on Jordan's end, because Chuck was only doing his job. But most fans are still standing with MJ on this. They all accuse Chuck of choosing his job over friendship. And I've got to say though, not a really brotherly move from Chuck. One fan argued that even if he did have to criticize the Hornets, he could have simply said the MJ needs better people in his office. But he's still gonna figure it out at the end of the day because, well, he's Michael Jordan. Because even when Chuck himself was asked if he would ever be friends with MJ again, he simply said that it'd be on Jordan's end, because Chuck was only doing his job. But most fans are still standing with MJ on this. They all accuse Chuck of choosing his job over friendship. And I've got to say though, not a really brotherly move from Chuck. One fan argued that even if he did have to criticize the Hornets, he could have simply said the MJ needs better people in his office. So from fans blaming Chuck for ending their 30-year-long friendship, to MJ and Chuck's insane on-court feuds, this was the real reason why Michael Jordan had beef with Charles Barkley.